26 National Football League teams began the 1973 season as equals, but the new campaign brought a fresh start, a chance to heal last season's wounds or continue its successes. Changes in personnel and philosophies have been made during the off-season, and each team holds tight to the belief that they now have the 40 men who can win the Super Bowl. Only one team will realize this goal, but those teams that truly strengthen themselves for the new season thrive during NFL 73. Hopes for the new year actually begin just a few weeks after the old season is ended, with the NFL draft of college players. It is rare that one player, a rookie at that, can turn a franchise around in 1 year. But the seniors of 72 produced several key first-year players who greatly enhanced the fortunes of their teams. Bud Grant's Minnesota Vikings have won with defense over the past several years, but they could not win the big one, and changes had to be made. In 1972, Fran Tarkington returned to team with another 72 trade acquisition, wide receiver John Gilliam. Viking football was more exciting, but Gilliam and Tarkington were not enough. And so in 1973, the Vikings made Chuck Foreman their #1 draft pick. Minnesota now had a breakaway runner, and the Vikings at last had it all. Foreman gave balance to the Viking offense, and his threat made Tarkington to Gilliam even more dangerous. In the playoffs, Tarkington used play action to Foreman and twice struck Gilliam for scores as the Vikings beat the Redskins 27-20. Then in the conference championship, Foreman rushed for over 100 yards, and the run-conscious Cowboys saw Tarkington and Gilliam break the game open. With Chuck Foreman the only real difference in their lineup, the Vikings went from nowhere in 72 to the Super Bowl in 73. While Foreman was the final link in an already strong chain, the Bears' #1 pick, Wally Chambers, #60, was the first link in rebuilding the Chicago defense. Chambers was named NFC Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1973, while tight end Charlie Young, the Eagles' #1 draft selection, went him one better, and he was named the All-Pro tight end as a rookie. It is rare for a rookie to catapult from big man on campus to NFL All-Pro status. But as a #1 pick, it is not unheard of. The draft does, however, include some pleasant surprises. One of the Cowboys' best picks was little publicized Harvey Banks Martin, a third-round selection, who became a key man in the Doomsday defense. Though not a highly touted #1 selection, Harvey Martin made good as a rookie, but not as good as Bengal Booby Clark, who was named AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, although he was not drafted until the 12th round. But the Bengals have always had good runners. What they lacked was speed at wide receiver. When Cincinnati made Isaac Curtis their #1 pick this season, they got all the speed anyone could ask for. In the Bengals' last 2 games of the season, games they had to win, Curtis caught 5 touchdown passes. Against Cleveland, Curtis scored 3 touchdowns. And on the season's last Sunday, 2 more, as rookie wide receiver Isaac Curtis led Cincinnati to their division title. The Oakland Raiders thought all they needed was a kicker, and so made Ray Guy the only kicking specialist ever drafted in the first round. Guy's booming kicks placed him second in the NFL in punting average, and he proved to be an extremely valuable #1 pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers have used the draft to build one of pro football's most ferocious defenses. A defense that has carried them to the playoffs the past 2 years. Ten Steelers starters on defense have been gleaned from the draft. And in a game where defense wins championships, the Steelers have used the draft to build one of pro football's best. George Allen believes in defense too, but he has built his in a different way. Virtually refusing to draft, Allen led the Redskins into the playoffs with a defense that numbers more than half of its starters who have come via the trade route. Though on not as grand a scale as Allen's, several teams made key trades for the '73 season that turned their fortunes around. The Los Angeles Rams suffered through a woeful season in '72, but in just 1 year, they went from their worst record since 1965 to their best ever. 2 trades were the main reason for the Ram reversal. One bringing Harold Jackson from the Eagles, the other John Hadl from the Chargers. And the new combination tore the league apart. The trade for Jackson and 2 #1 draft picks looked like the steal of the year for the Rams, but one man made the trade anything but one-sided. Supposedly sore-armed and over the hill, quarterback Roman Gabriel found new life in Philadelphia, and he quickly quelled all doubt about his strong right arm. In 1973, Roman Gabriel threw and completed more passes for more yards than any quarterback in the NFL, and pumped new blood into the Eagles' anemic offense of 1 year ago. But Philadelphia got even more offense out of the Jackson trade. His departure made a starter out of giant 6'8" Harold Carmichael, and in his first season as a starter, all Carmichael did was lead the NFL in receptions. Using his gangly arms and legs as bludgeons, Carmichael was the only receiver in the NFL to gain over 1,000 yards. For Harold Carmichael can fly with a football. Harold Carmichael and Roman Gabriel were two new Eagle starters who vastly changed the Eagle image to that of winners in 1973. The Atlanta Falcons also made a trade for a quarterback in 1973. In Minnesota, he was Bob Lee. In Atlanta, he was General Robert M. Lee, and he very nearly led the Falcons to the playoffs for the first time in their history. For Bob Lee, a trade had meant the start of a bright career, for it gave him a chance to prove himself. Though they did not know it at the time, the Falcons had acquired an NFL starting quarterback. The Denver Broncos, on the other hand, knew what they were getting when they traded for Ray May. The ex-Colt brought with him a winning attitude. He introduced the custom of holding hands in the huddle to draw strength from each other. And to a team that had always had an offense, he preached team defense as the bylaw to becoming winners. When the Broncos beat the Chiefs last season for only the third time in 28 tries, it was fitting that a team defense effort clinched the victory. New Bronco Ray May told them they could. The Broncos did, and Denver had its first winning season ever while narrowly missing the playoffs. As defending champions, the Miami Dolphins were one team that did not have to make many changes. They had it all in '72 and kept it for '73. A young veteran offensive line set free the jet blasts of Mercury Morris, who gained nearly 1,000 yards rushing. Fullback Larry Zonka told defenses he was coming and then ran over them for over 1,000 yards. Miami also had the AFC's second leading passer in Bob Greasy, and Paul Warfield scored 11 touchdowns on just 29 receptions. Finally, there was the Dolphin D, stretching out its tentacles and swallowing up whole offenses as Miami methodically marched to the Super Bowl. For a record third straight season, the Dolphins represented the American Conference in the Super Bowl, this time against the Minnesota Vikings. Relying on a swarming defense and a grindingly efficient offense, the Dolphins were simply unbeatable. With their victory over the Vikings, the Dolphins won their second straight NFL championship. But they won it with basic, straight-ahead football. And for yet another year, the Super Bowl game bore the stamp of no-mistake conservative football. And so for the 1974 season, the game will see some well-conceived changes that will modify the look of NFL football. For the new season, the goalposts have been moved to the end line, and missed field goals from outside the 20-yard line will be returned to the line of scrimmage. In the all-important battle for field position, a miss will be costly. The punting game has been changed too. Kamikaze bomb squatters will no longer be permitted to leave the line until the ball is kicked. Given some room to get rolling, punt returners will have more opportunities to break one of football's most exciting plays. Another rule change will benefit kickoff return men. Kickoffs in 1974 will be from the 35-yard line. Fewer kicks will go out of the end zone, and the long-awaited return of the long return will result. The dominance of the defense has also brought a rule change. For in recent years, rib-popping, stifling defense has become the name of the game. Defense in the 70s has left a trail of frustrated offense in its wake, most noticeably in the passing game. Faced with a frenzy of backpedaling into the deep zones and followed by the jamming of wide receivers, quarterbacks were left with but one alternative: short passes to tight ends or backs. In fact, backs or tight ends led 15 of the 26 NFL teams in receiving. And Fred Willis of the Houston Oilers became the first back ever to lead his conference in receptions. But beginning in 1974, wide receivers will be afforded a better opportunity to get downfield. They can no longer be cut down at the line, and given a freer burst on the snap, one of pro football's most exciting positions will be back in the game plan more often. Along with the new 15-minute sudden death rule in the case of ties, pro football promises a more wide-open, exciting format in 1974. But no matter how they change the superficial features of the game, at the heart of pro football are individuals who give the game its greatest moments. Such a man is O.J. Simpson, who set NFL 73 on its ear. On the first Sunday of the 1973 season, O.J. Simpson began an odyssey unlike any other in pro football history. With 250 yards rushing, Simpson set a new single-game rushing record, but it was just the beginning. Simpson's line promised O.J. they'd get him 2,000 yards in 73. An unthinkable accomplishment. But as the yards began to pile up, the possibility loomed larger. By the seventh week, Simpson was at 1,000 yards, and he just kept right on going. On the way, O.J. surpassed Jimmy Brown's single-season rushing record. And on a snowy day in Shea Stadium, just one final step remained.
And now it's for the 2000, boys. For the 2000. That's Reggie McKenzie's ambition.
I never thought I'd
never thought I'd see it. Honest. I never thought I'd see it.
They'll give him the ball all afternoon
Give him
now.
the game, the ball, the tail, the ears, and the hook. O.J. running left. O.J. 5 more. Maybe more. I don't know.
Maybe 6. There it is.
He did it. Yeah. I just wonder if the three of us at this moment fully realize what it has been our great privilege to see and broadcast and account for every inch of what has happened this season. I don't think it'll hit me for quite a while yet, but it's been a thrill for me, let me tell you, to watch O.J. Simpson run for 2,000 yards in one season.
2,000 yards in one season. That season was NFL 73.